And now the two sides come across the near side. Steve Cooper takes the applause of the home crowd. It is packed at the City Ground. Two clubs who starred in the Championship last season thanks in no small part to the brilliance of their head coaches. And now a first top-flight meeting between Nottingham Forest and Fulham for more than 54 years. These are the teams: Henderson in goal for Forest, Bolly, Cook and McKenna the centre-halves, Williams, Yates, Freuler and Lodi in midfield, Johnson and Gibbs-White behind Awoni up front. For Fulham, Leno is the goalkeeper, Tete, Tosin, Ream and we think Diop at left back, Polinia and Reed in front of them, De Cordova-Reid, Pereira and Willian behind Alexander Mitrovic up front. It is a great setting for Premier League football. It was a long time coming for Nottingham Forest, Dean Ashton, 23 years away, but it's just as vibrant as ever here on the banks of the River Trent.
Yeah, you can sense it in the support. When I was walking up already, the streets were full of Nottingham Forest fans, and you can just sense they absolutely love being back in the Premier League, but they need results, and quick.
An ode to the City Ground, red and white scarves up into the air. And not a spare seat to be had in the stands. It is one of 6 live commentaries across the course of the weekend on the TalkSport network from the Premier League and the EFL. Every twist and turn live with us. And tonight we're here for Nottingham Forest against Fulham on TalkSport 2. It will be Fulham who kick us off, playing from right to left towards the Trent end in the first half. And we can immediately see in the first few seconds that it's Tim Ream who has started at left back in a Fulham 4, and that's exactly what we expected as the ball goes out of play for a Fulham throw on the far side, their right back position. Fulham white shirts, black shorts, white socks. Nottingham Forest in Garibaldi red and white. Forest playing from left to right towards the Bridgeford end of the ground, that two-tiered stand with its sloping roof. It's split between home and away supporters. We're right at the back of the main stand, very back row, Dean Ashton, just to the right of the halfway line. It's a little chillier this evening. Both you and I have got the jackets on, but we're really looking forward to this one. 0-0.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I can't believe we actually thought that Diop was going to play left back. Of course he wasn't.
Of course, Dan Windle right after all.
Yeah,
I think he was.
Yeah, so Ream, I think, will naturally fit that side, of course, left-footed as well. And I think also it doesn't change anything. I still think Brennan Johnson will look to get out wide and test him 1v1.
We'll keep you up to date with the other game in the Premier League tonight, Aston Villa against Southampton, which is live on TalkSport. The best way to switch between both games, of course, is to download the TalkSport app. In the WSL tonight, first game of the new season, Arsenal 0, Brighton 0. We'll keep you in touch with that as well. High ball to Alexander Mitrovic. His birthday today, 28, 6 in 6 in the Premier League to start the new season. And Gibbs-White wins it back for Nottingham Forest, the former Wolves player, the club record signing, £42.5 million. De Cordova-Reid then hoists the ball downfield for Fulham, up the middle for Mitrovic to chase. Willy Bolly on his debut, another former Wolves man, is there for Forest to see it back to the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, all in sky blue. Henderson clears towards halfway. That looked like handball by a stretching Kenny Tete. Forest have possession, so play continues. Lodi over the halfway line. Far side there left, right at the base of that huge Brian Clough stand. 22 signings over the summer for Nottingham Forest, Dean Ashton. You'll know as a former player, that's a lot in terms of trying to integrate everybody into the squad.
I think what's more importantly is those little relationships you have on the pitch, whether it be centre-back and full-back, whether it's your two midfielders, whether it's your strikers and your wingers. Those things tend to just take time to develop. So, yes, they might have a shape, yes, they might be working on it, but I feel as if there still might be a little bit of patience needed from the the Nottingham Forest fans, because it might not still work straight away.
2.5 minutes gone. Nottingham Forest 0, Fulham 0. On the Friday Night Football, live on TalkSport 2. And we're back in action tomorrow with a game from the Championship, Swansea against Hull at 12:30, as Declan Overeem looks to get in behind Nico Williams, the ex-Liverpool defender. Williams clears in the right-back position for Nottingham Forest, then has to play a header downfield. Yates hooks it further clear of danger. It's dropped for João Palhinha, midway inside the Forest half. Back to the halfway line, and Diop, who stands at 6'4" tall, and now it's with Kenny Tete out on the far side, the right, the halfway line for Fulham. No recognised left back in the Fulham squad tonight. Robinson and Kurzawa not fit. The referee has given Fulham a free kick midway into Forest territory. It's a little quiet at the City Ground, I have to say, for all of the pre-match atmosphere and the crowd who are on their feet away to the right-hand side. But Dean Ashton, Fulham have started the better of the two.
Well, that's why it has just settled the crowd, and Palhinha winning a free kick. Morgan Gibbs-White actually won the ball, but if you go in at the wrong angle, whether that's just from behind or from the side, tend to give a free kick away. And as we know, with Mitrovic and Diop tossing,
there'll be a forward. And Andreas Pereira, with the dyed blonde hair, formerly of Manchester United, standing over it, dinks it in high towards the edge of the penalty area. Mitrovic goes down under the challenge of Bolly. Referee says no penalty. Toss in, left hand edge of the box, back towards the flame-haired Harrison Reed, just inside Forest territory. Fulham having all of the ball. Nottingham Forest 0, Fulham 0, and Fulham go back to Bernd Leno, their new goalkeeper, all in bright yellow. Forest, big spenders over the summer, as we mentioned, £160 million or so. And Fulham are not quite as expansive in terms of their set of new signings, but plenty of new signings nonetheless for Marco Silva. He's wearing a dark suit, all black tonight, just to the right of the halfway line with his hands in his pockets. His team coming forward with Willian, who's making his full debut tonight, having come off the bench in the defeat to Tottenham. Willian loses possession on the Fulham right, the far side, and Nottingham Forest have it back with Willy Bolly, who is to the right of the three centre halves. And 0-0 the score, and Forest just looking to get a foot on the ball, Dean. One or two touches, stroke the ball about the back three. Bolly finding Ryan Yates, and Yates back to Steve Cook in the middle of that three centre halves.
Well, Steve Cooper's sides inherently tend to keep the ball, or try to. It hasn't been as good as I'm sure Steve Cooper would have wanted this season. Their pass completion is one of the worst in the league, so it hasn't quite clicked as yet as it goes over the top. But I think Owoni would have been offside. And again, it's about the players being brave and having that quality, which is why you try and sign good players. But in that front three, I mean, they will cause a lot of teams problems.
Well, Taiwo Awoniyi is the new number 9, the Dean Ashton role, and he has scored once so far since joining the club. That was in the only victory that Forest have registered this season in the home game against West Ham. They are sitting off here, Nottingham Forest, allow Fulham to play the ball out of defence. Leno eventually goes long, high towards the right-hand channel. It's headed away by Scott McKenna with the orange boots on. And McKenna, who had a torrid second half against Bournemouth in the defeat here, though you could say that about almost all of the Nottingham Forest players. They were 2-0 up, remember, before losing 3-2. High ball towards Gibbs right, outside right channel, shrugged aside by the much taller Issa Diop. I mean, he towers over just about anybody. And here's Reed in the centre circle, and Fulham look neat and tidy, as you'd expect. The team that won the Championship title last season, up against the side who made it up through the playoffs. Nottingham Forest 0, Fulham 0. Willian, right wing position, plenty to Emmett in the middle. Kenny Tete on the overlap, swings in a high cross, deep to the far post. It's come off the head of Willy Bolly, and McKenna flicked it away, not away enough. Tete's cross then nodded clear by McKenna once more. Nervy Nottingham Forest defending. Fulham throw 10 yards from the corner flag, and it's 0-0.
Great example of exactly what Fulham want. Into the feet of Mitrovic, brilliant little turn, get it out wide, and then a little link play between Willian and Tete, and then looking to deliver for Mitrovic and the midfielders running in. It's exactly what Fulham do. They just bypass the midfield at times into Mitrovic.
Willian 25 yards out, right of centre again. Tete looks for the pass square. Tete plays it back to Reed. Infield it goes to Willian again. Tete's led with the edge of the penalty area. Cross takes a deflection of Lodi and goes behind, and it's a Fulham throw. Again, very close to the corner flag between the Trent End and the Brian Clough stand. There are still some Nottingham Forest fans arriving, 8 minutes into the game on that far side. The sun has long set. It's chilly here now. The sky's dark up ahead and the floodlights on, of course. And Fulham continue to look the more confident of the two sides in the early stages. It is they, of course, who have made the better start to the new Premier League season. In fact, Fulham at this stage in their last Premier League campaign only had a single point. This season so far, they already have 8. And deckled over Reed infield to Pereira, and then back to the halfway line where João Palhinha, who has impressed plenty, Dean, already since coming into the side, since joining in the summer, just rolls it back to Diop.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievably comfortable in possession, but also most tackles in the Premier League, so he obviously reads the game very well in that position, just in front of the back four, which I think in the Premier League is such an important position for any side, especially a promoted side that naturally are probably going to give away some of the ball, and top quality teams want their best players in those sort of positions. So he's settled in really well, hasn't he, at Fulham?
And Dean Ashton, former England striker, alongside myself, Joe Shannon. And Dean and I reunited. It's been a while. Good to be back in the commentary box alongside you as always, as Yates steers the ball high down the right-hand channel for Nottingham Forest, and somehow it stays in play, and Johnson can charge forward down the near side of the field. Awani in the middle, it's pulled back towards Gibbs White, and Gibbs White's effort is deflected behind off Kenny Tete, and Nottingham Forest have a corner, and suddenly the noise breaks out again at the City Ground. It's 0-0 on TalkSport 2.
1-0, Brennan Johnson against Ream, just spun in behind him, he was gone, and then he cut back a brilliant pass to Gibbs White, who thinks this is it, I'm just going to stroke this ball in, and there was Tete, came across brilliantly to block.
Well, we did think it was unlikely that Fulham would switch to a back three, so it's proven the case, but there is a vulnerability about them against this fleet-footed Forest attack. Gibbs White with the corner, and headed in at the far post, it's that man Awani! He scored again at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest's new number 9. It's come against the run of play, but Steve Cooper won't care. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0.
And this is all about anticipation and just waiting just to see where that flicked header from Yates would go. And he just gambles at the back post. He just peels away from Decordova Reed, and Yates gets up nice and high. It's a glancing header towards the back post, and Awani is there. Simple header downwards past Leno. Simple finish, but you've got to be in the position to put it away. Brilliant centre forward play to sniff that one out.
And the man who scored the goal that won the game against West Ham, Nottingham Forest's first win since their return to the Premier League, has scored again here at the Bridgeford End against the London club from close range. History repeating itself, Dean Ashton, but you know, as a former striker, you've got to be there ready to pounce from close range, and he did that.
Look, it's not a video reel goal. You know, it might not be one he'll remember when he gets into his 70s or 80s, but I tell you what, it's so important as a striker to score those sorts of goals. You know, to be alive to the situation, to just anticipate where might this header go. Yates might have just headed that on target, but Awani's thinking, well, what if he glances this? I'll just get away from my man.
Completely different feel to the game now. Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0 on TalkSport 2. Gibbs White down to the dead ball line, far side to left, tries to drive in the cross right-footed. It's blocked off by Tossett at the near post, and Fulham are on the rope suddenly. Lodi hangs up a cross, Yates goes in, and it skimmed off the top of his head, but went away from goal rather than towards it. Now Nico Williams, down by the dead ball line, left-footed in swinging delivery, headed away by the bald-headed Diop through a crowd. Fulham can't get out. Pereira eventually does, and now Mitrovic on the counter-attack. He's always dangerous when he's bearing down on goal. Up to the edge of the penalty area, Mitrovic shoots, and he curls it over the top, and the Forest fans behind the goal up to their feet with glee, but that was close. Fulham not far away from an instant equaliser.
Yeah, it was an electric break, wasn't it, from Pereira and then Mitrovic, and I was surprised Steve Cook just backed off. He wanted some support, just allowed Mitrovic to then drag the ball onto his left foot, looking to curl that into that far corner. Got it horribly wrong, and rightly so. Was heckled by this home support.
And Nottingham Forest fans all around the ground, jumping up and down, red and white scarves being waved. They will need the City Ground atmosphere this season if they are to achieve what they want to achieve. And after a very nervy opening, the opening goal has really settled them down, and suddenly it's Fulham who look a little on the back foot. Steve Cooper, the Nottingham Forest head coach, patrolling his large technical area right in front of the red painted dugouts, dressed in all black as Steve Cooper, and the man who led Nottingham Forest to promotion back to the Premier League last season isn't far off celebrating a full calendar year in charge, and it's not often you can say that about any recent Nottingham Forest manager. João Palhinha for Fulham, left of centre, midway inside the Forest half. The team in black and white have possession again. Diop though is giving it away to Yates. Yates was caught by Pereira. Referee plays the advantage, and then Freuler moves out to Reed in the middle of midfield, so the ball will come back and Forest will have the free kick. It's TalkSport 2, it's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0, and here's Dean Ashton.
It's amazing, isn't it? What a goal does. Just that injection of energy that it's given the Nottingham Forest players. All of a sudden, they're first to every loose ball. They've just got to be careful, though, they don't open themselves up on the counter-attack.
A big roar, Dean, every time somebody in a red shirt makes a tackle. It's lifted the crowd as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you need sometimes as players. You just need that lift.
Here is Willian for Fulham, caught on the penalty area right hand side, dinks in the cross, deckled over Reed far post. He's brought it down cleverly over his shoulder and away from Williams, but away from goal. He's back to goal. Infield to Pereira. Forest have plenty back behind the ball here, no way through for Fulham, and Reed is forced to stab the ball back to the halfway line.
Just that point there when Declan Reed gets that on the left hand side, and normally you'd see Anthony Robinson absolutely tearing it down the left hand side to overlap. Reed just sat there, offered him absolutely nothing, and in the end he had to just give possession back into midfield. I know it's defensively maybe very different, but going forward as well, it can be something that can be missing on that left hand side.
Arsenal 1, Brighton 0 in the Women's Super League. Kim Little has got the first goal of the new season. Here is Mitrovic for Fulham, played into the penalty area, angle against him, tried to juggle it beyond the defender, then he shoots, he's blocked by Cook. Cook sliding in to make a brave challenge. Mitrovic didn't hit the ball very well. He didn't hit it cleanly, certainly. I thought he was going to take the effort on earlier, but he actually did. It was a lovely floated pass through to him.
Yeah, I mean, to say that he shinned it, it was almost a knee rather than a foot. It was closer to the knee than the foot when he ended up striking that bobbling ball as he tried to take it down and pass Steve Cook. But that's what he's like, Mitrovic. He takes the strike on, it bobbles around, he takes another. He's got that greedy edge about him.
Off the knee rather than the foot. That sounds like one of my shots, Dean. On the far side. Here comes João Palhinha for Fulham. Right hand side, inside right channel. His attempted cross is blocked by Remo Freuler. The loose ball falls to the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper Dean Henderson, and now Lodi, one of the new signings, is fouled by João Palhinha deep inside his own half, the left back position. And Nottingham Forest, who lead by a goal to nil, have a free kick. Arsenal 1, Brighton 0, as I say, in the WSL. Brighton are down to 10 players in that game. And elsewhere in the Premier League, live on TalkSport tonight, Aston Villa 0, Southampton 0, a game that is very important, you feel, for Steven Gerrard. We've got big screens in front of us. Here in the commentary position, we've just seen another replay of that Taiwo Awoniyi goal. The poacher's goal at the far post. And just like the other one that he scored this season, Yates has fouled Pereira. Fulham free kick, lip of the centre circle inside Forest territory.
Well, again, they'll want to settle back down, Fulham, because they started the game very well. And again, they'll be looking to feed into midfield and then look to get it wide, and it'll be that right hand side that I think will be the most productive for Fulham as Tete overlaps Willian.
We'll have a glut of commentary matches to come for you this weekend. Game day returns for Network tomorrow. Wolves against Manchester City in the Premier League at 12:30. At the same time here on TalkSport 2, Swansea against Hull. Then at 3 o'clock here on TalkSport 2 will be at St James's Park for Newcastle against Bournemouth. And Sunday lunchtime, TalkSport will bring you a London derby between Brentford and Arsenal. Intriguing encounter potentially between those two. Williams in the right back position, sandwiched in between two Fulham shirts, but the Nottingham Forest man still able to hack it clear over the halfway line. And then Diop will stab the ball high downfield up towards the late running Harrison Reed. McKenna came across to head it away, and Williams drives the ball deep up into the dark night sky over the halfway line. It drops for Gibbs White. Gibbs White is caught by Polina. Marco Silva furious with the referee, arms up into the air, but it's not going to change the decision, of course, of Jared Gillett. And it's a Nottingham Forest free kick 10 yards into the Fulham half. They lead 1-0.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with him actually. I think Polina read that brilliantly and just stepped across Gibbs White in the midfield area, but just starting to win those individual battles, Nottingham Forest. We can talk about a team game, formations. If you don't win your individual battle against the player you're up against, you're going to find it very difficult. And Henderson's given them a new dynamic. There's no doubt about it. They've used him so much. They want to start the play from him. The centre-backs can go to him because of his quality.
Well, there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, Dean, as the ball goes out to play for a Fulham throw in their right-back spot. There was a lot of talk about how much of a blow it was when Bruce Samba left Nottingham Forest in the summer, but Dean Henderson has largely proved, as you say, an inspired signing. And look, you're right, people will look at the couple of penalty saves, and that's great, but that's a bonus, isn't it, really, for a goalkeeper? He does the fundamentals so well, and that, of course, is another reason why he's in the England squad.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to play and he wants to show his qualities, not only shot stopping, but with the ball at his feet as well. And with Steve Cooper and the way he wants to play, I think it's vital that they have a goalkeeper that can, when teams press you, can help you get out.
And here come Fulham on the counter-attack after Bolly lost possession midway inside his own half. Pereira twisting and turning, poke it through the gap towards João Polina, gets the return from Mitrovic. Polina into the penalty area in between two red shirts. One of them, Williams, is able to shrug aside Polina and get it clear up towards halfway, but Andreas Pereira's got it back. Polina with the yellow boots on, out wide to Willian, had to check back to retrieve the pass. Kenny Tete on the overlap. Tete darts towards the dead ball line, swings in a high cross, and it's too close to the goalkeeper, who makes an easy take.
Yeah, it was good though from Polina, wasn't it? Just driving forward, lovely little flick round the corner from Mitrovic into his path, but Nico Williams, he's so athletic and he's got such a determination about his play, just closed the door on him.
And here is Awani looking to burst through the middle. The offside flag does belatedly go up on the near side, much to the derision of the Nottingham Forest supporters, who leap to their feet to question the decision. Steve Cooper likewise with the fourth official. It was a tight one, actually, looking at it again on the big screen, Dean, but he did look just offside, maybe.
It was very tight though, and the fact that he was then running through the middle of the pitch, almost 1v1, you know, from my knowledge, they're meant to let those ones go, unless it's wide and there's genuinely no danger, or you absolutely know they're offside. Well, that was very, very close.
Well, that's a grey area in itself, isn't it, this season?
Of course.
An added complication.
Down to interpretation of the referee's assistant.
It's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0. Live from the City Ground on TalkSport 2. Well, the Union Jack flag continues to fly at half-mast at the top of the Brian Clough stand on the far side of the field. Crossfield ball by Pereira, high towards the right-hand side, up towards Willian, who's a little slow to move towards it, the 34-year-old, who, of course, has bags of Premier League experience. Willian and Polina and Pereira in particular, those two who've started every Premier League game so far this season, I think are going to be crucial to Fulham's fortunes. Here is Diop on the halfway line. Square ball to toss it out towards Tete, first time pass. Tete steers it into the feet of Willian. Neat one-touch play from Fulham. Now Tete allowed to drive forward up to the corner of the penalty area. Out wide is the diminutive Harrison Reed. In support is Willian with the curly hair. Back to Reed again. Fulham looking for the equaliser, but Nottingham Forest defending very diligently here. They've got 11 behind the ball as Fulham play from right to left towards the Trent end of the ground. Tim Ream plays it a low ball, a brilliant cross. Pereira sliding in, inches away from making contact. And I tell you what, Tim Ream is not an orthodox fullback, but that was a super cross in, a teasing ball that just was asking for a touch. Pereira couldn't quite get to it.
Oh, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Just curled it just round the back of the Nottingham Forest defence. And the thing is, those defenders, all they're going to be thinking is, where's Mitrovic? I've got to get hold of Mitrovic. And McKenna was just there. As soon as Mitrovic went to spin into that space, McKenna just got hold of him, stopped him making a run. So it's so important then that Pereira and other players then make those runs. And he was probably a foot away from connecting Andreas Pereira.
Not the tallest player on the field, the £10 million man. And couldn't quite stretch his legs enough, but more promise for Fulham, who actually, the goal aside and a brief spell after it, will feel that they've been the better team for large parts of the first 23 minutes or so. Mitrovic chases that ball from Ream inside left channel, too long, and it goes through to Dean Henderson, the Nottingham Forest number 1. Henderson gets it back from McKenna, scoops the clearance first time right-footed up towards Awani. Paulinho wins the header, comes down for Pereira, looks lively, corner of the area, jinky away from Freuler at his back as Pereira crosses in high up towards Mitrovic, far post. It's smuggled away by Willy Bolly, comes down for Tim Ream. First time left-footed cross is not a good one this time, easy for Bolly to steer away on the volley. But Nottingham Forest are not retaining possession particularly well. They're not really playing like a home side, Dean Ashton, even though they do lead by a goal to nil on TalkSport 2.
No, but I think the manager's okay with it because of watching the players, the Nottingham Forest, but they just, as soon as they lose the ball, they just retreat into the shape, almost the forward line on the halfway line and no deeper. So they're allowing Fulham to have plenty of the ball, and I've been really impressed already so far in this game with Andreas Pereira, just his awareness, the way he manipulates his body and the ball to get away from players and either give it simple or then look for a clever pass. He's finding himself in nice little areas of space as well.
Arsenal 1, Brighton 0 is a half-time score in the Women's Super League. Brighton down to 10 players. And Kim Little has got the Arsenal goal. TalkSport and TalkSport 2 will bring you live commentaries from the WSL throughout the season, including 2 next weekend, both on TalkSport. Arsenal against Tottenham on Saturday and Chelsea against Manchester City on Sunday. I'm looking forward to being part of the commentary team for both. Here is Pereira centre circle, back towards Tosin. He just drops into the Nottingham Forest half, then back into his own territory to find Diop. And Diop scampers forward 10 yards, angles the ball out low to the near side, the left, and decoyed over Reed, infield to Pereira, pops it back first time to Ream. Good football from Fulham, who are yet to win away from home in the Premier League so far this season. In fact, they've only picked up a single point so far, and that was at Wolves, though they were only narrowly beaten by both Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur. As the ball is scooped down the right towards Reed, headed away by McKenna, but the offside flag up. Nottingham Forest free kick. And actually, even though Fulham are popping the ball about nicely, Dean, I'm just watching Steve Cooper speak to his assistant Alan Tate on the near side. Forest look relatively comfortable.
Yeah, they do. 63% possession for Fulham so far, which is sizable, but 0 shots on target, which of course is the thing that will be gauged upon if you're Steve Cooper. Well, they haven't been given a chance yet to test their goalkeeper, so I'll be happy in that sense. And I think they've kept a reasonably good shape, although
Mitrovic played it through to Willian into the penalty area. He's brought down. That must surely be a decision for the referee to make here, and the decision of Jared Gillis as he walks up to the edge of the penalty area is to produce a yellow card for Steve Cook. But Fulham are furious because they feel it should be a penalty kick, and presumably a red card. Mitrovic is asking for the referee to speak to his assistant. Jared Gillett, I think here, has given a free kick right on the edge of the box. A yellow card for Cook. Fulham not happy.
The one thing I would say is Willy Bolly's right there. You know, Willy Bolly is 3 yards away, level. It's not as if Willian is absolutely clear. Willy Bolly is getting across, and Steve Cooper has taken him out, basically. And he's clever enough to even do it outside the box. So all that's going to happen is that Fulham have just got a free kick outside the box. He has got away with taking that chance there, Steve Cook, but just shows, doesn't it? You can have all the shape you want, one ball, one lack of concentration at this level, and teams can get him behind.
Marco Silva, face like thunder. His assistant Luis Boamorte is protesting. Harrison Reed speaking to the assistant referee. The referee's definitely got it right in terms of the fact, Dean, that it's a free kick. It's nowhere near the penalty area as Willian looked to burst through. But the question is, of course, should Cook have been given a straight red card? VAR no doubt is having a look at it, but there is no official check imminent. Cook survives with just a yellow.
I just think Willy Bolly is there. It's not like he's absolutely clean through, that he's going to take a touch and definitely have a shot. When he takes that touch, Willian, the next thing that's going to happen is Willy Bolly makes a challenge. That's how close he is to him at that point.
Free kick right on the edge of the box to the right of the edge of the D at the Trent end. Fulham trail by a goal to nil. Pereira curls it right footed high into the wall, and they celebrate, the players in red, like they've scored a goal. It's looped over the top and behind for a Fulham corner.
And a big sigh of relief, of course, for the Forest fans, because they would have thought when William was charging through there, they would have thought the worst when the referee Jared Gillett walked over to Steve Cook.
And Cook, in Premier League experience, maybe a bit announced in knowing that he could make that challenge and get away with it. Pereira will take the corner, far side the right, a right-footed out-swinging delivery. Mitrovic with a glancing header, saved by the goalkeeper, who then is grateful for the intervention of the man in front of him. I think it was Ryan Yates with the challenge. In fact, it was Freuler who poked it clear on the rebound, and Nottingham Forest survived just as Decordova-Reid looked to snap up the loose ball. A good alert work though by Henderson to make the initial save from Alexander Mitrovic. Another corner coming up.
How does Mitrovic get free in your box? He's the one player that cannot happen to. They've actually got away with it as well. It's a good save from Henderson, but it comes off Mitrovic's shoulder, so it takes all the power off it. I think if Mitrovic gets the meat of his head onto that, I think it finds the back of the net.
Half an hour gone. It's getting feisty now in the East Midlands. Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0. Fulham with a sense of injustice maybe that Steve Cook wasn't sent off. They do have a second corner in quick succession. Willian this time, right-footed out swinging, high towards the 6-yard box. Mitrovic at the far post, couldn't make contact with it, out-muscled by McKenna, and it's sliced clear up into the night sky by Nico Williams, and maybe Forest can break. Williams once again forced into a clearance from the right back position. It cannons off Polinia, and it's a Nottingham Forest throw. For the latest odds, head to 888 Sport, the official betting partner of TalkSport 2's Premier League coverage. Right now, Nottingham Forest 8-15, Fulham 5-1, the draw 11-4. That's all thanks to 888 Sport. Made to challenge, made to debate, made to play. 18+, begambleaware.org. Well, some of the action on the near side touchline involving the head coaches is almost as fascinating as what we're seeing on the field, Dinesh.
It is, isn't it? It's sort of the two benches are quite open. It's not like they've got the dark material on the benches. We can see absolutely everything, every single player we can see jumping up and down. When Steve Cook made that challenge, it just adds to it, doesn't it?
You think it was a yellow though, on balance? Is that fair?
I'd have to say Willy Bolly's there. I think the next touch or shot that Willian was going to have, Willy Bolly is making a challenge, so therefore he is that close. But you can't tell me Steve Cook doesn't know where he is on the pitch. He doesn't make that challenge if Willian stepped into the box. That's a little bit of experience from him.
It's a knowing challenge, isn't it, from Steve Cook? wearing number 3, at the heart of the Forest back line. Still only 31, Steve Cook. I had to double check that earlier, Dean. I couldn't believe it.
I know. I had a hard paper round, but I think he was carrying me on his back.
31. Willian is fouled. Fulham free kick. 15 yards inside Nottingham Forest territory, right of centre. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0 on TalkSport 2 with Car Finance 24/7. Search Car Finance 24/7 today. And Nottingham Forest just having to field some Fulham pressure here. And Fulham, who have forced a couple of corners, and finally Henderson has had a save to make. Andreas Pereira standing over the ball. Nottingham Forest holding a very high defensive line here. Pereira sticks it to the far post, and Polini is completely free, and the goalkeeper makes a good save, diving to his left, and then belatedly the assistant referee puts the flag up. And there's bemusement really, because if he's offside, he's offside. I tell you what, looking at the replay, it was close. Polini had the freedom of the 18-yard box. Henderson didn't know the flag was going to go up, and he had to make a good save.
I think it was great officiating, to be honest, because it was really close, and that would have gone to VAR to check it.
The Forest lead 1-0. Here they come on the counter. Lodi, far side to left. Early ball in towards Johnson. It's headed away by Ream, facing his own goal. A clever header in front of the Fulham fans. Now Fulham can break. Decoed over Reed. Caught by Bolly. And the referee reaches for his pocket. It's another yellow card for a centre-half. Bolly this time. Words exchanged between the two assistants on the near side touchline. It's, again, rather feisty between the two sets of coaching staff. Forest supporters getting involved as well. And Bolly's challenge was quite a cynical one, I think, on Pereira.
It was definitely a cynical one, and I thought, was that a really nasty one? And it wasn't really. He rode the challenge, Andreas Pereira, and it's a yellow card. It's nothing more than that. I think it's Tate, isn't it, who's down there? One of the coaches, Alan Tate, of course, down there, and I think he wasn't happy with one of the coaching staff of Fulham waving the imaginary yellow card, or probably red card. I don't think he was happy with that.
And now he's talking to Marco Silva, the fourth official, not having to separate the two, but just acting as a kind of mediator. And Steve Cooper, meanwhile, all alone in his technical area. Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0 on TalkSport 2. And elsewhere in the Premier League tonight, it's still goalless at Villa Park, live on TalkSport. Aston Villa against Southampton. And TalkSport will bring you commentary of Wolves against Manchester City tomorrow at 12:30, and then Game Day Live with Adrian Durham takes you around the grounds for all the goals as they go in. Hoisted forward by Kenny Tete, down the far side the right. A towering header clear by Scott McKenna. Mitrovic has that header aside, well, the header that came off his shoulder, not really had a sniff of a chance. In fact, Henderson has only had that one save to make so far, Dean.
Yeah, I think he'll know, though, that if they have as much possession as they have had in this game, that he will get chances. There'll be balls in the box for him to attack.
Here is Harrison Reed, wearing number 6, midway inside the Forest half. Fulham continue to have the better of it in terms of possession. Nottingham Forest again with 11 behind the ball. A flood of red shirts for Fulham to try and pass and probe their way through. And Fulham, who are back in action at home in their next match, as Tete drives in a high, deep cross. Mitrovic trying to get underneath it. Bolly clips the ball over his shoulder. It's going to drop behind. Is it for a corner? Yes, it is, for Fulham at the Trent end of the ground. And this is a nervy passage of play and passage of Fulham pressure for the Nottingham Forest fans to have to endure.
The amount of times Mitrovic gets away with just a little push in the back as the ball comes over. He's a master of it.
9 minutes of the first half remaining. Corner whipped in by Pereira, right-footed out swinging, high to the far post, and Ream was lurking. Doesn't score many, Tim Ream. Headed behind by his marker, Steve Cook, and Fulham win another corner, their fourth of the first half so far. Trailing by a goal to nil, but Fulham on the balance of play overall will probably feel frustrated, annoyed with themselves that they are a goal down. The goal they conceded came from a set piece. Can they get themselves level with one? Willian's delivery, headed away from inside the 6-yard box. Now it's brought down by the Forest number 10, Gibbs White. No way through past Pereira. Fulham win it back inside opposition territory, but then Gibbs White snaps at the heels of Dequan-Overeem, and Forest break. Yates over the halfway line with the pass, spread it towards Lodi, steered away by Willian. Fulham have it, very scrappy passage of play, possession being conceded with regularity. Nottingham Forest though on the attack. Williams crosses high right footed from the near side. Tete's missed it, Lodi far post, time to take aim, blocked by Tete. He took too long, did Renan Lodi. The Brazilian had it on his left foot, his better side, his stronger side. Why didn't he go for goal earlier on, Dean Ashton?
I've got no idea, to be honest, because toss-in goes for the header when Tete can probably just clear it, and that then inadvertently takes it into the path of Renan Lodi. And just why when it's on your favoured left foot do you not just take that out of your feet and just smash it towards goal? Instead, just trying to be a bit clever, just rolling his foot over it and then looking to strike with the right, and then just gets crowded out. That felt like a chance.
He's still looking for his first Nottingham Forest goal. Again, a new signing from Atletico Madrid, and Kenny Tete can breathe a sigh of relief. And Fulham who have another right back in Kevin and Babu on the bench. High ball by Leno up the middle. Bernd Leno, I can hardly remember mentioning his name, Dean. Yet of course Fulham trail here in the 39th minute at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0. McKenna clips the ball high to halfway. Awoniyi dropping deep into his own half, trying to control it on his chest. It's gone back to the Swiss international Freuler. Now McKenna again, clips the ball high, up the middle, headed away by Tosse. And nodded down by Freuler, picked up by Yates in the centre circle. Yates through the middle, little flick, clever flick by Gibbs White, out to the left and Awoniyi. Awoniyi holds up possession, back to Renan Lodi once more. And Lodi with the yellow boots on will feed Freuler, who's done a diligent job in front of the back three, his second Premier League start. Lodi once more, far side hugging the left touchline, in front of the lower tier of the Brian Clough stand. Now Yates, really tight and compact the City Ground, a proper old-fashioned atmosphere guaranteed. Johnson trying to drink through the middle, he was blocked off, he was fouled clumsily by Diop, yellow card, free kick to Nottingham Forest. It's probably just over 25 yards out left of centre, and certainly within shooting range, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, it was so clumsy from Diop. He thinks he can win the ball, and just the touch from Brennan Johnson actually takes it through the legs of Diop, and then he clatters into Johnson, who's probably taken a horrible dead leg to the thigh. And you're right, a really dangerous position to try and take this up and over the wall.
Well, who's going to stand over it? There are potentially plenty of contenders here for Nottingham Forest, Dean. Johnson is over it, but Gibbs White has actually now picked the ball up, and Gibbs White, the number 10, is going to place it, as I say, a shade left of centre and a shade over 25 yards from goal. It's Gibbs White who certainly looks the more likely. Now Renan Lodi is coming across to have a quick word, and he will provide the left-footed option as the home fans find their collective voice again. It's towards the Bridgeford end, this free kick, split between home and away fans, all of whom are on their feet back behind the goal. I think Gibbs White fancies this, Dean. I think he fancies the first Nottingham Forest goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brennan Johnson's still picking his thigh up off the floor, so he's out.
Gibbs White will step up and strike it right-footed high into the wall. It was a strange run-up, very straight.
Oh, it was horrible. He's tried to do the sort of Ronaldo knuckleball with just no power.
Hit the top of the wall and spun away. Now Gibbs White does cross, deep cross to the far post. Well claimed that by Leno. Stretching really high. The goalkeeper had to use all his 6'3" plus a bit of extra insurance as Johnson looked to peel in at the far post. The goalkeeper almost graceful in the air as he made it look easy. Still, Fulham trail at Nottingham Forest by a goal to nil. On TalkSport 2, 42nd minute with Now Sports. Don't forget that with Now Sports you can stream all the Sky Sports action. Aston Villa against Southampton, live right now from $11.99. No contract, search Now Sports. And it's still goalless at Villa Park, live on TalkSport on national radio. Cleared away by McKenna, out of play, Fulham throw, far side there right, midway into opposition territory. Been a busy night for Jared Gillett, the referee, as Mitrovic can't control back to goal edge of the penalty area. Has looked, by his very high standards, a little out of sorts tonight. Not, though, like he's had a heck of a lot of service. As Aston Villa take the lead against Southampton, it's a massive goal for them, and a massive goal for Steven Gerrard live on TalkSport. Jacob Ramsey has got it, and Villa may be edging a little closer to what would be just the second Premier League win of the campaign. Of course, there is a long way to go. They kicked off at 8 o'clock like us, so it's not yet half-time. Back underway in the second half of the WSL. Arsenal 1, Brighton 0 latest score. That's the very first game of the WSL season, and Nottingham Forest lead Fulham 1-0 here, as Tete's cross is blocked off by Freuler, and it will be a Fulham throw again on that far side there right. Just a couple of minutes of normal time remaining at the end of the first period. Willian can't wriggle his way through, and it's hooked over his shoulder and away from danger by Freuler. And now Nottingham Forest looking dangerous on the break. Gibbs White, centre circle, angles the pass to the right hand side towards Johnson, who was slow to reach it. Ream somehow beating for pace, and now Pereira trying to thread a through pass up the middle towards Harrison Reed at the other end. Too much on it. McKenna sees it back to the Forest goalkeeper Henderson, and Nottingham Forest will try and play their way out of defence. Henderson almost slips, almost stumbles, and eventually safety first, high clearance up to the halfway line.
Yeah, I think Steve Cooper's happy to sit deep generally and then look to burst with that dynamism that they've got at the front three on the counter-attack, and just that ball just didn't have enough pace on it from Gibbs White to Brennan Johnson. Otherwise, again, he would have been 1v1 with Ream.
Pereira seen a lot of the ball in the first half, dropping up to the midway point of his own half to take possession out wide to Tete. Now Pereira's bursted into opposition territory. Mitrovic has got the ball down by the dead ball line. Slide tackle from Cook, and it's a fifth Fulham corner of the night. And Nottingham Forest have proved vulnerable to corners in the season in the Premier League so far, which is a concern for Steve Cooper. 4 Premier League goals from corners they've conceded this season already. Willian's delivery, right-footed out swinging, tossed in, goes near post, blocked off. It was a right-footed volley. It was allowed to dart to the near post there, tossing. And Nottingham Forest hack it clear over the halfway line. 30 seconds of normal time to go. I'm hearing there'll be a minute added, just a single minute.
That's twice now, though, that corner from Willian on the right-hand side, they've just looked for that, almost like the corner piece of the 6-yard box. That favourite Sheringham position that we used to see as Anderton used to whip that in. Around that, but just around sort of chest height for a diving header, as tossing this time, and it was Mitrovic earlier that they're looking to find.
Long ball from Diop, angled slightly left of centre, headed away by Willy Bolly with ease. It's come back to Ream, the American with the ponytail, left back tonight for Fulham. Rolls the ball back to Diop. Diop strides over the halfway line. Square to Tete, far side the right. Here comes the fourth official. Confirmation of the single minute added live on TalkSport 2 at the end of the first half. And Fulham trail at Nottingham Forest by 1-0. 1 or 2 supporters on their feet, heading for the concourse areas ahead of half-time. And Fulham have played some nice stuff really up to the final third, and then there has been a lack of penetration.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Mitrovic has been poor, actually. The ball's bounced off him too often, and naturally he's going to be targeted, isn't he, by opposition defences, because he's such a threat, and Bolly, Cook, McKenna have doubled up on him as often as they can.
And Forest asking Fulham the question, can you play through us? It's a flat back 5, and then really 4 in front of them, and then Awoni. Pereira steering the ball high from the centre of the field towards the right, where Willian is waiting. He's poked it through the legs of the defender, sets up Reed corner the penalty area. Forrest wanted a free kick, play continues. Now Tete to drive one in, takes a deflection, and it's turned away by Dean Henderson at his near post, a save you'd expect him to make. He was alert to the danger, the goalkeeper. 30 seconds over the minute added have already elapsed, so we're well into the second minute of stoppage time now. Referee has looked at his watch as Fulham seek a very late equaliser, but it's not going to come. The half-time whistle blows, and it's Nottingham Forest who are in front, despite really creating very little. Taiwo Awoniyi with another goal at the City Ground, his second in Nottingham Forest red. And it was a poacher's goal, a corner from the near side, Gibbs White with it, flicked on by Yates, Awoniyi there to turn it home in front of the visiting supporters. Fulham have rarely tested Dean Henderson. The one real save he had to make, a glancing header from a Mitrovic corner, and just moments prior to that corner, a moment of real controversy. Steve Cook taking out really as he burst clear on goal. It was definitely a free kick, nothing wrong about that decision, but Fulham questioning whether Steve Cook should have been sent off. In the event, it was only a yellow card. It's been tight, it's been tense at the City Ground. It could still go either way. Live on TalkSport 2 at half-time, Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0. And it has been a tight game so far, certainly in terms of clear-cut opportunities for either side. Taiwo Awoniyi's goal separates the two. His second goal in a Nottingham Forest shirt. And here come the Forest fans again, up to their feet ahead of the second half. And here go the red and white scarves once more. It is something for the Premier League, this, because not only has it been a long time since Forest graced the top flight, you have to go back to 1999, but already, Dean Ashton, they're making their mark, aren't they, the Forest fans, as one of the more distinctive atmospheres in the division, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And why shouldn't they enjoy being back in the top league, and especially if their team go on to win?
Well, they lead Fulham by a goal to nil, and they are the team who've got us underway in the second half. And here's Johnson straight away through the middle, couldn't control, having been put through by Gibbs White. His touch was heavy, and the ball squirmed through to the Fulham goalkeeper Bernd Leno. Still Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 0, but
massive chance.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a massive chance. It's a great ball from Gibbs White, nice and early into the path of Brennan Johnson, who, if he takes a good touch here, the next shot is 1v1 against Bernd Leno, and it was just a heavy touch, just poor.
Well, quite a few home supporters would have missed that goal, and plenty are still arriving as they missed that goal, missed that opportunity. Had it gone in. Arsenal 3, Brighton 0 in the WSL. Arsenal comfortable then in the first game of the new season in that division. Villa 1, Southampton 0 elsewhere in the Premier League, and Nottingham Forest in front here and moving out of the Premier League relegation zone ahead of the rest of the weekend's fixtures as it stands, up to the relative safety of 14th Nottingham Forest should they win tonight. And it would be Fulham's third defeat of the season. Here goes Gibbs White to get over the halfway line, inside left channel, early ball towards Johnson once more, smuggled away by Ream. I'll give you the two sides in full again in just a second, but Renan Lodi on the overlap, dinks in a high cross, a terrible cross, got it all wrong, sliced it high over the top. Goal kick to Fulham. Forest playing from right to left towards the Trent end in the second half in red and white, Fulham in black and white playing from left to right towards the Bridgeford end, which is where the travelling fans, about 2,000 or so, are located. No changes at the break. Forest, Henderson in goal, Bolly, Cook and McKenna the defenders, Williams, Yates, Freuler and Lodi across the middle, Gibbs White and Johnson in support of Awoniyi, who's scored the only goal of the game so far. Fulham have Leno in goal, with Tete, Tosin, Diop and Ream the back four, Polinia and Reed holding, De Cordova-Reid, Willian and Pereira behind Alexander Mitrovic up front. Options are plenty available to both head coaches from the subs bench. Here's Kenny Tete for Fulham, right hand side, the near side of the field, sets up Willian pulls it back to the edge of the box, Pereira let it run, not sure if he got a shout from Polinia. Either way, Forest are now on the break. Gibbs White is tackled, well tackled by Reed, sliding in on the halfway line, and Fulham regained possession immediately and impressively.
No, it was a terrible decision from Willian. Lovely little fake to come short and then just spun in behind Renan Lodi, and then he had loads of time to pick out the cross and just cut that back with too much pace on it for Pereira, and the chance was gone. And I looked at Marco Silva, who just had his hands either side of him as if to say, come on.
Well, that was the criticism when he was at Arsenal, wasn't it? No end product as Diop classes the ball high through the middle up towards Mitrovic, a tangle with Bolly, and Bolly's gone down and stayed down. It was definitely a foul from Mitrovic. A Nottingham Forest free kick 3.5 minutes into the second half, and Willy Bolly, I don't think he's going to need the physio here. I think he's just going to be helped up.
He puts a bit of extra on this, Mitrovic. As the ball goes past, he actually catches Willy Bolly with his trailing leg, but he just carries on the challenge with him. And just looking at him, he's just boiling a little bit. A couple of times he's flicked it on. Honestly, he's flicked it on, and
he is like that, isn't he, sometimes?
Decordoveri's not been there. Willian with a poor cross, he'll get himself worked up because he's battling and he wants a bit of quality and help up there, and he's not getting it. And that was just a little sign for me that he's very frustrated.
That's the former England striker, Dean Ashton, who knows what it's like, I guess, Dean, to play that lone role up the middle, all on your own, on a night when you haven't had many goal-scoring chances. It can get a bit tempestuous. And actually Nottingham Forest with Bolly in the back line, there's a physicality and a level of Premier League experience that he provides, and I think they already look more confident than they did in the Bournemouth game, as Cook heads clear. And certainly the second half of that Bournemouth game, where they conceded 3 to lose, having been 2-0 up earlier on in the month. They lead 1-0 tonight, Nottingham Forest, and game day's back on the TalkSport network tomorrow. Wolves against Manchester City on TalkSport at 12:30. Then 2 commentaries for you here on 2. Swansea against Hull from the Championship, and Newcastle against Bournemouth in the Premier League at 3. And then on Sunday, Brentford against Arsenal, live from midday, only on TalkSport. A busy weekend for us, and we hope you can join us. Header from McKenna, orange boots on, halfway line, floated high towards Gibbs White. It's cleared away by the head of Tossin, the flick from Reed, up towards Mitrovic, smuggled away by Steve Cook, had his arms on the shoulders of Mitrovic there. Mitrovic frustrated because Fulham have lost possession. Renan Lodi skips neatly over the halfway line, lays the ball square to Nico Williams, the number 7, shoots low from range and drags the shot well wide. Leonard didn't even have to dive. He knew it was trickling wide of goal.
Yeah, he likes that. He likes coming onto those. Nico Williams taking a touch and striking, very much in the vein of Alexander Arnold.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Marco Silva makes a change in a minute. He's so frustrated, and Willian and Decordova-Reid, I think, are certainly the ones to be worried.
Well, Marco Silva knows Nico Williams from his loan spell at Fulham last year in their title-winning Championship season. 90 points they picked up, 106 goals. They were goal crazy at times, Fulham, last season. They scored 7 3 times and 6 twice. Here is Gibbs White though for Nottingham Forest, who lead 1-0 this evening. Out to the left and Lodi keeps it in play, hugging the near side touchline. Forest playing from right to left as Tossin steps in to clear, first time on the volley. 6.5 minutes into the second half on TalkSport 2. Aston Villa leads Southampton by 1-0 elsewhere in the Premier League tonight. Live on TalkSport, and Steven Gerrard will be able to breathe a little easier in terms of the pressure that's on him if Aston Villa can hold on to that advantage, as the ball is threaded inside right channel by the very tenacious and very creative Gibbs White, looking for the late run of Johnson. They already seem to have struck up a good understanding. That pass was a little heavy, and now Fulham can break. Here's Reed, number 6, over the halfway line. Out to the near side, and Tete with his white shirt untucked. Mitrovic back to goal, looks to just dink a layoff down the right-hand side, looks to get the Forest defenders on the turn. Pereira with his back to goal, 25 yards out, surrounded by red shirts. Forest clear, Gibbs White, centre circle, down the right-hand side towards Johnson. Again, it's just slightly overhit.
It's they're very snatchy, aren't they? Gibbs White and Brennan Johnson especially. They're just that desperate to make that pass count.
And Gibbs White gapping between the Fulham midfield and defence. He tried to knock it through the middle for Awoni. It was well read by Diop, who comes out of defence and plays it wide to Willian. It's end-to-end at the moment on TalkSport 2 as Fulham seek an equaliser. Mitrovic is in a crossing position here. Mitrovic does deliver. It comes off McKenna and goes out to play for Fulham's 6th corner of the night in front of those travelling fans at the Bridgeford end.
Yeah, forcing his way out wide now, Mitrovic. He's not getting any joy down the middle, so naturally he's going to try and peel out wide to get a little bit of space. And if he does that, that's when it's so important that Pereira, or whether it's Reed or Palhinha, then goes up and supports and goes into that central role.
There was a corner from this near side at this end of the ground that led to Forest taking the lead early in the first period. Fulham looking to strike back early in the second. The noise, though, that you can hear is coming from the Nottingham Forest supporters. There's a huge group, thousands of them, to the right of our commentary position, who are all on their feet, making quite a noise. And plenty forward for Fulham, almost everybody back for Nottingham Forest. Willian to deliver, right-footed, out-swinging, tossing, climbs and heads it into the net, and Fulham are indeed level, and poor old Nottingham Forest concede from a corner again. Desperate disappointment for Steve Cooper, but Fulham with some set-piece success, tossing with a towering header, and it's level at the City ground. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 1.
Well, I'm just looking to see who it is that he comes away from, and it's Yates. But I tell you what, they mean this, Fulham. Mitrovic is the blocker. As he runs away, Mitrovic, he then just takes a step. Yates runs into him. Tossing's then free. It's a brilliant ball from Willian right in front of the 6-yard box. Tossing gets up nice and big and just powers that down into the bottom corner. But a clever corner from Fulham.
And it's 1-1, and Fulham will feel on the balance of play they deserve that equaliser. Nottingham Forest have hardly threatened since scoring that early goal, and the game is back in the balance. Tosin doing defensive duties. He really thundered home the header, powered it home.
I mean, we've seen it for many years, that tactic of one of the players making a run and then blocking the defender. Again, is it something that the officials should be looking at? Because, you know, Mitrovic knows what he's doing. He's blocking Yates from getting towards his man.
As Lodi crosses in from the near side, the left, it took a bounce. Leno was retreating. He elected not to come off his line, the goalkeeper, but over the head of Awani and then into the gloves of Leno, decked out all in bright yellow, and the complexion of the game has suddenly changed. You are listening to Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 1 on TalkSport 2 with Car Finance 24/7. Search Car Finance 24/7 today.
I mean, this is the type of performance where the manager would be criticised, Steve Cooper, because of how negative they've been in the game, considering incredibly deep.
And now Reid looking to break down the Fulham right. An early cross towards Mitrovic, edge of the box. He was blocked by Cook. It's come down to Willian. Willian tried to deliver from the dead ball line, and he actually shanked it into the Bridgeford end under pressure from two Forest defenders. Looked to the referee, nothing given. And we mentioned it, that Nottingham Forest worry from set plays. The 5th Premier League goal they've conceded from a corner already this season, Dean, and that really in mid-September is a big worry for Steve Cooper.
Well, it is when the Premier League's hard enough as it is, and then when you start letting goals in from set plays, it does make it very difficult.
Mitrovic on the halfway line. Fulham looking to break. Mitrovic has shrugged aside Willy Bolly, who's played it square to Harrison Reid, midway into opposition territory. Now Willian looks up, chance to attack the edge of the penalty area. Willian goes on the outside of Gibbs White, plays it back to Tete. Tete steers the ball to the edge of the box. Polinia! What a strike! Wonderful goal from João Polinia! Curled majestically into the top corner. A goal to celebrate, a goal to savour, and my how he celebrates. He races into the away end. A sensational strike from Polinia. A bit of magic from the edge of the box, and Fulham with 2 quick-fire goals, and they have turned it around at the City ground, and Nottingham Forest are behind. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 2. João Polinia take a bow.
Whoosh! What a strike this is from Polinia. Willian, again just on the outside, cuts it back to Tete, who sees Polinia on the edge of the box, and I tell you what, this is some finish. He just comes onto it, he doesn't use the laces, it's the side foot, but he really does crash through the ball with that side foot, and it rifles past Henderson from his left hand, just on the right hand side of the goal, whips into the roof of the net. That was special.
Oh, Dean, that was absolutely glorious, wasn't it? Marco Silva celebrating with his coaching staff. Polinia with a perler. He scored his first Fulham goal in the win over Brentford on August the 20th, but that really is a sign of what he can do. And credit to Fulham, who have fought back, and 13 and a half minutes into the second period, the game has been turned on its head. It's Forest 1, Fulham 2, and really a moment that those Fulham fans behind the goal, they were right behind it, will remember for a long time.
Silence as well around the City ground. Totally shocked. It happened against Bournemouth, it's happened again.
And you mentioned it, Dean. I mean, 2 goals in 3 minutes and 4 seconds for Fulham. As Steve Cooper, has he been reactive rather than proactive tonight? There still doesn't seem any sign of Forest changes imminently anyway. Here is Decordova-Reid. We'll talk about that in a minute. Decordova-Reid to the dead ball line, pulls it back across. Harrison Reid in space! Fulham have scored again! Would you believe it? First time right-footed on the half volley, low into the bottom corner, and Forest do not know what's hit them. 3 goals in 4 minutes for fantastic Fulham. They have turned it around in the second half, and how? And Steve Cooper and Nottingham Forest have a mountain to climb. Forest 1, Fulham 3. Sensational fight back from Fulham.
Incredible, but defensively they are shell-shocked. Nottingham Forest, they've just completely switched off, completely affected them what's just happened. And Decordova-Reid just burst down the left-hand side, he cuts it back, and I said earlier, if Mitrovic goes short or he goes wide, someone has to be bursting into that space that he leaves. And Harrison Reid does exactly that. He follows in from the edge of the box, and as he just steps in towards the 18-yard box, the ball across from Decordova-Reid just bounces in front of him. He gets right over the top of it, gets his shin into it, into the floor, and past Henderson. Incredible few minutes for Fulham.
What a way for Harrison Reid to score his first Fulham goal. And his first in the Premier League at that too. He doesn't score many, he does a diligent job in front of the back four, often goes unnoticed, Harrison Reid, but he's really trusted by Marco Silva, started every Premier League game so far this season. He has throughout been playing in an advanced role, and he had the freedom of the City ground to drill that beyond Dean Henderson. And Dean Ashton for Nottingham Forest, that's 14 conceded in 4 games.
Yeah, see, that's not good enough at all, and I think mentally weak, you would have to say, in the way that they've just capitulated here defensively. And when that goal went in, Steve Cooper just turned to his staff.
When Mitrovic has shrugged aside Willy Bolly, corner the penalty area, almost with the legs of the defender, Bolly manages to hold him up. Every time we watch Fulham come forward, Dean, they look capable of scoring. Willian tackled by Nico Williams, last touch off the Brazilian Willian. It's a goal kick. Here comes Jesse Lingard. Some will say too little too late.
Well, I mean, it's a big job now, isn't it, to lift these players again. Worrell as well, I think it is, who looks like he may be coming on.
And Forest have conceded 3 in a second half again at the City ground, having been up at the break. They've just collapsed defensively, and Fulham have taken full advantage of that and are heading for their first away win in the Premier League since they beat Liverpool, would you believe it, in March 2021. Do you remember that? It was a long time ago now.
Just a bit. But they've deserved it. You know, in the whole of this game, they've been so proactive, they've probed, they've been good on the ball, they've been patient, and they've eventually got their rewards, whereas Forest almost feel as if they're sat there waiting to be beaten, rather than them being the ones that are aggressive in the way that they press or they go forwards. That's what we saw last season. We saw an aggressive Nottingham Forest.
Yellow card for Kenny Tete here, found on the halfway line. We're hearing that Steve Cook and Willy Bolly are about to come off for Nottingham Forest. It's Arsenal 4, Brighton 0 in the WSL. That's about 5 minutes away from finishing. So here comes Jesse Lingard for Steve Cook, and as we told you, Willy Bolly coming off and Joe Worrell coming on, and maybe that will mean a change of shape for Nottingham Forest, because they've lost one of the centre halves, but needs must here for Steve Cooper and co. What is turning into another desperate night, but for Fulham, well, they will be 6th in the Premier League as things stand, and And just 2 points off the top four, and what a start that would be for Marco Silva, who of course knows the Premier League well in his time at Everton and Watford and Hull City, where he started his Premier League managerial career. TalkSport 2, Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 3. 3 goals in 4 minutes for Fulham. Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0 is the latest score over on TalkSport, and the Premier League returns with game day tomorrow across the network. By the way, tonight on TalkSport, 10 o'clock, Sports Bar Weekender, Adam Cattrall and Carlton Cole will take your calls. 03717 223344 to have your say. If you're a Fulham fan who can't believe it, and really if you're a Forest fan who can't believe it either, the way they've collapsed. Sixth.
What a start for the Premier League season for Fulham, and they've deserved it. I've been so impressed with their approach.
They're not a yo-yo club anymore. And Mitrovic midway inside Forest territory, robbed the possession by Freuler, and Lingard steps in to pop it back to McKenna. There's Renan Lodi playing as a full-back on the left of a 4 here. It looks like Dean, with Williams at right back. Appears so.
I mean, you had to make a drastic change to try and just unsettle Fulham and give the players something different to think about.
They've sat off though, haven't they? And been really timid and been punished for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that will frustrate the fans, that they can handle you having a go. It's very difficult to play in the manner that they have, be so negative and defensive if it doesn't work.
Well, there will be a throw here for Nottingham Forest, which Renan Lodi will take, level the edge of the 18-yard box down by the Trent end. He's blocked off by Willian. Corner to Forest, and of course there's plenty of time to go. 65 minutes on the clock, and the Forest goal could change the complexion a bit again. There are plenty forward in red for the corner on the near side of the field. Home fans trying to suck the ball into the back of the net. It's Gibbs White, the number 10, who'll take it. Right-footed, in-swinging delivery. Awani at the far post somehow headed it wide. It was flicked on, almost a carbon copy of Forest's only goal of the night, and Awani was steaming in, back post, 6 yards out, got his head to it, should have scored.
Oh, it's an absolute gift. It's identical as well.
Yep.
To the first goal they scored. Just a flick on at that near post. Awani gets away from Deco Dovereed again, and it's come off his shoulder. Just there to be headed in. Just head it in from 3 yards out, and it's come off his shoulder. I'm sorry, at this level, that's unacceptable.
£17.5 million Taiwo Awani was at one stage the club record signing, but Forest then went on to break that record twice. But for all of the new players in and all of the money spent, it's going to be 5 defeats from 7 to start the new season unless something changes. Of course, Forest know all about recovering from bad starts. They did that remarkably last season with Chris Hughton sacking, Steve Cooper coming in, and suddenly things change in the most incredible way. But the Premier League is an unforgiving beast, Dean Ashton, and it will be a lot harder for Nottingham Forest to turn around this start.
Yeah, it will. And also Fulham can now dictate. They can maybe sit and frustrate and look to counter-attack.
And Daniel James ready to come on for Fulham, stripped and ready to go in black and white, and a sign of increasingly impressive squad depth. The man on loan from Leeds, Harrison Reed, has taken the ball out of play, carried it out of play. Forest throw in their left back position. They're 3-1 down, Nottingham Forest here. Fulham who have a home game against Newcastle to come to begin their October after the international break, and Nottingham Forest away at Leicester City in an East Midlands derby for the Premier League. This is the first top flight meeting between these two clubs for more than 54 years. Here is Renan Lodi, again left back position on this carpet-like surface, not a blemish on the pitch. Back it goes to Henderson, the goalkeeper. Henderson left badly exposed, particularly for that third Fulham goal.
Yeah. One thing, it was interesting when that third goal went in, he sort of was looking at the bench, arms up in the air as if to say, you need to sort this out in front of me. So the management, just shocked, weren't they? Just totally shell-shocked with what Fulham had done.
And the two centre-halves have gone off. We were talking about Cook and Bolly earlier in the game as providing that stability and that experience, but Bolly on his debut hauled off after just over an hour. We're midway into the second period. Forest 1, Fulham 3. Mitrovic in possession, holds off Ryan Yates, goes down, wants a free kick, gets it from the referee, and Nottingham Forest frustrations continue. The changes afoot for both sides. We mentioned Dan James, who made his Fulham debut off the bench as a sub in the defeat to Tottenham, and he will take to the field now, and it will be Willian to come off. And well, we've seen what Willian can do, his quality in the second half, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, from a dead ball situation, you'd expect him to have that quality. I'm not sure going forwards against other teams whether his mobility will be an issue and his lack of defensive nous as well. But this is a perfect change for Marco Silva. Takes off Willian, brings on Dan James, who's got that electric pace on the counter-attack.
Double change for Nottingham Forest. Off goes Awoni. Sam Surridge, the tall centre forward with the orange boots on, is his replacement. Remo Freuler also leaving the field, and here comes the ex-Huddersfield man Lewis O'Brien, who gets a big cheer as he comes on. Left out of the side, or left out of the starting lineup in the last couple of games, Lewis O'Brien. A Fulham free kick left of centre, midway into opposition territory. High Forest defensive line, dinked in by Pereira, high to the far post. Decored over Reed, will try and keep it in. Hasn't been able to do so. Did prevent the goal kick. It's a Forest throw. For the latest odds, head to 888 Sport, the official betting partner of TalkSport 2's Premier League coverage right now. Nottingham Forest 66 to 1 to win. Fulham 1 to 33. The draw at 14 to 1. Next goal scorer odds: Johnson at 9 to 1, Mitrovic at 7 to 2, Gibbs White 11 to 1. All thanks to 888 Sport. Made to challenge, made to debate, made to play. 18 plus begambleaware.org. And now, as we hit the 70th minute of the game, the City Ground crowd rise to their feet to applaud in memory and in respect of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned for 70 years until her death at the age of 96. Her image beamed onto the big screens around the City Ground, and the national anthem rings around here on the banks of the Trent. And Fulham on the attack. Mitrovic inside the penalty area, twisting and turning and crossing, and headed away by Lodi. Now Polini, 25 yards out, gets it back from James, through the middle towards Pereira, edge of the D, goes down, no free kick. In fact, it is belatedly given by the referee, fouled by Worrell, and this is in a dangerous position, very much within shooting range for Fulham.
Yeah, it's definitely a free kick. Worrell, sometimes you just can't win that ball. You can't just go through players to win the ball, and that's what he does. He just barges through the back of Pereira and gives away a silly free kick, I guess, coming on and putting the captain's armband on. He wants to try and get things going, put his foot in. Dangerous position there.
Arsenal 4, Brighton 0 is the full-time score in the first game of the Women's Super League season. And Brighton were down to 10 players very early on there. Arsenal, who finished runners-up to Chelsea last year in the WSL. More WSL commentaries throughout the season on the network. Aston Villa leads Southampton by a goal to nil on TalkSport. Here on 2, Fulham lead 3-1 at Nottingham Forest, 27 minutes into the second half. And Andreas Pereira stands poised, 25 yards out, right of centre, over this free kick, takes a big deep breath. It's a stuttered run up, curling it! Good save by Henderson. Jumping and sprawling away to his right-hand side. It was the side where the goalkeeper was perched, but he really had to stretch to tip that behind for a corner.
Yeah, he didn't move an inch, Henderson. He didn't step across and try to look round the wall or gamble that Pereira was going over that. It was very similar to the Trippier goal against Manchester City, where he whipped it to the goalkeeper's side, but Henderson just stayed there, made a really good save.
Forest with everybody back, bar Johnson upfield. It's a corner to Fulham. Pereira, one arm up into the air, right in front of the travelling fans, right-footed, in-swinging delivery into the 6-yard box, punched away by Henderson, all in blue. Got a good touch on that. Ball goes out of play for a Fulham throw on the near side there, right wing, and Daniel James will leave it, and Fulham will take their time getting someone to come across and take it. In fact, well, the assistant is signalling that it is a Fulham throw. And there's confusion because it looked to me initially, Dean, like Fulham were just deliberately wasting away a few seconds there.
They are.
Well, Marcus Silva's pretending to be confused there.
I know.
And Fulham leading 3-1. It's a different Fulham side, Dean, than we've seen in the Premier League before this. No question. Well, certainly in the last few years anyway. James with the cross and steered over the top by Deacon Overreed. On the stretch volley. On the edge of the 6-yard area. Again, Forest all at sea. Defensively, what a cross from Dan James. Caught on the penalty area. Delightful ball. Teasing, tantalising on the edge of the 6-yard area. Deacon Overreed, stretching left-footed, spooned it over the top.
Yeah, I mean, it should be 4. It's a great ball, you're right, from Dan James. Just gets his head up, sees the run of Deacon Overreed, and again it's Mitrovic who pulls the defender out of the way, and it just leaves that space for Deacon Overreed just to burst into at that near post. I think it's more a diving header myself. I think stretching with your other foot as it's coming across, it's a difficult skill when you're doing that. Get the old-fashioned diving header out. Stick it in.
You scored 1 or 2 of those, I'm sure, in your career, right? Right?
Well, it's just easier to control, isn't it? With the meat of your forehead, and you can see the ball coming onto your head. It's got to be easier than trying to then stretch and try and volley it in.
Well, that's a luxury they've got, I suppose.
Yeah,
15 to go and 3-1 up. Remember the Fulham side under Scott Parker last time they were in the Premier League? They just couldn't score enough goals. Goals don't look like being a problem for them this season.
No, I mean, they're just braver, aren't they? More aggressive, braver. All right, they might concede a few chances on the break for teams, but I'd much prefer to, if I was a supporter, to watch the style that Fulham have got tonight than what Nottingham Forest have served up, and Steve Cooper's side have been very negative.
Steve Cooper, arms folded, again in conversation with his assistant Alan Tate. Nottingham Forest, who we mentioned earlier, a flurry of goals conceded in recent matches, 17 in the Premier League conceded for the season in 7 games. And 6 of those were at Manchester City, but really 3 to Bournemouth and 3 to Fulham, the other promoted sides, and both at home, is a massive concern.
That's scary, that's what that is. You're right, to the 2 sides that you'd really want to be getting points from at home, that's a massive worry.
He still doesn't know his best team, you might argue. And Lingard to take a throw for Forest, midway inside opposition territory, right in front of a TV cameraman. It's gone back to the halfway line of McKenna. The City ground is subdued now. Worrell, 6'4", the club captain, having come off the bench, looks for Williams on the right, steered forward by Lingard, clever pass, and now Johnson's away in the penalty area, plays it square, comes out to the edge of the box, and it's stabbed in by Lewis O'Brien, his first Nottingham Forest goal off the bench to get them back into the game. It could be an interesting last 13 and a half minutes at the City ground. The Trent End is bouncing again. Nottingham Forest 2, Fulham 3.
Game on! Brilliant ball over the top, clever run from Brennan Johnson, just on the shoulder of Diop, who just doesn't track the run, and then when he tries to play it across, I've got to say it's unfortunate for Tosin, because he reads the cross, he then clears the cross, he doesn't quite get enough on it, and it falls so kindly right on the penalty spot for O'Brien, and honestly, it couldn't miss. He just had to pass it into the back of the net, which is what he did, and all of a sudden, here we go.
Goals change games. Foul on O'Brien. Referee, he saw it, and a yellow card for Andres Pereira. Fulham were looking so comfortable, and now one Nottingham Forest goal has changed the feel of the game again. Before we went on air, Dean, you and I got here nice and early before the game. We both said there'll be goals tonight. There have been 5 of them, and we might not have finished yet.
Oh, this game is daft, isn't it? You know, it was deadly silent 2 minutes ago, and now they feel like they can go on and win it. let alone get a draw.
3-2 down Nottingham Forest on TalkSport 2. Pereira's got the ball for Fulham in the centre circle. We've only got 12 minutes plus stoppage time left, but Forest suddenly believe. Lodi with a cross, headed away from the edge of the box by Diop, comes down to Mitrovic, turns it behind him to find James. James collects just shy of halfway. Lewis O'Brien, terrific slide tackle to win it back. Marco Silva wants a free kick. Nottingham Forest want to come forward as they seek an equaliser. James is still down, but play is absolutely fine to continue as James gets to his feet. O'Brien meanwhile has possession, plays it square to Worrell. Plenty of red shirts forward now. Williams on the right hand side, cuts onto his left foot. Williams goes for goal, and it's a screamer that's over the top. Actually, O'Brien was in a good position square. He's changed the game since coming on.
He has, but what is he doing, Nico Williams? You just build it up, it goes wide, and he thinks in his mind the correct decision there is to cut onto his weaker side and hit it from 25 yards. It's a ridiculous decision. Just get that out of your feet and whip that in for the 4 or 5 red shirts that are in there.
This game is far from finished. Nottingham Forest 2, Fulham 3. An early season Friday night thriller on TalkSport 2. Gibbs White has shoved over Polinia. Free kick to Fulham midway inside their own half. So Dean Ashton, how do they manage the last 10.5 minutes, Marco Silva's side?
Well, what they can't do is just sit back and soak up pressure. You know, you've still got Mitrovic up there. Hit him, get players around him. Try and start playing in Forest half.
And that was long from Diop, straight up towards Mitrovic, who stretched but couldn't get there. Forest 2, Fulham 3 on TalkSport 2 with Now Sports. Don't forget, with Now Sports you can stream all the Sky Sports action, like Aston Villa against Southampton, live right now for $11.99. No contract, search Now Sports. Is there to be a final flourish from Nottingham Forest? Different feel to the Bournemouth game, because they were 2-0 up, went 3-2 down very late on, a sucker punch. Now they've got 10 minutes to get an equaliser. Renan Lodi, near side of the field, has plenty to aim at. Great cross, headed away by Tosin. Stretching, otherwise Lingard might have got there. Fulham suddenly on the ropes. Yates from 25 yards, straight at Leno. Down the throat of the goalkeeper, made the catch. He really sized that one up. Ryan Yates from distance, and this has got the Premier League feel about it now.
Well, and that's so important when you're chasing the game, is those players that are just waiting for the attack to unfold, be ready, be alert for that second ball. Yates just stepped in, took it on his chest and volleyed, and again just lifts the crowd a bit more.
McKenna halfway line. We can barely hear ourselves now above the Nottingham Forest crowd. 3-2 to Fulham. Just over 9 minutes to go. And Fulham defensively here with a lot of work still left to do. They did concede quite a few in the Championship last season. They were so good going forward, it didn't really matter. But they did concede 43 goals in the second tier. They're not impregnable defensively. Williams back to the goalkeeper, all in blue, Dean Henderson, and a real challenge on now for Nottingham Forest. O'Brien's substitution coming on in particular has changed the game. I'm sure there'll be a clamour for him to start Forest's next fixture. Header away by Tete from the edge of the box. Hooked down, out of play by Renan Lodi. Fulham throw in their right back position. Forest's next game is away at Leicester in that and East Midlands derby.
Yeah, Tom Kearney just taking off the pink tracksuit top and looking to come on for Marco Silva. They need to get someone on the ball, foot on the ball, get hold of it, feed Mitrovic, get around him. Just got to try and stop this flow of red shirts.
Pereira on a yellow card is coming off. Slow walk as he applauds the Fulham fans. Kearney, the club captain, so much experience, seen it all in recent years, seen the 2 relegations, the 3 promotions, and his 7th Premier League substitute appearance of the season tonight. If you love your football, we've got more of it this weekend. Game day back tomorrow. 3 commentaries from the Premier League and the EFL on the network, and on Sunday, Brentford against Arsenal on TalkSport at midday. Long throw up towards Mitrovic, cleared away by O'Brien for Nottingham Forest, but Dan James has got the pace to race down the right hand side. He's beaten Worrell to it easily. Worrell then gets back at him. Credit to Worrell sliding in to block the cross. Fulham corner. I spoke too soon.
Oh, I felt sorry for him then. Dan James just, the old school push and run, just pushed it past Worrell, and wow, he was away. But fair play, he just cut the angle off, actually, Worrell. Instead of running with him, he ran back towards his own goal, cut the angle off and made the block, but I'm sure his hamstrings were screaming.
Electric from Dan James, gliding down the right, and now Fulham have a corner at the Bridgeford end. Plenty of white shirts have stayed back, a handful forward. Kearney's left-footed in, swinging delivery high to the far post, flicked away in the nick of time by Sam Surridge as Polinia threatened to get his head to it. It's another Fulham set piece, and they won plenty. 9 corners in the game, and time running out for Nottingham Forest a little here. 6.5 minutes plus stoppage time remaining at the City Ground, and Fulham lead it 3-2. And Tosin and Diop have both gone forward. They're the real height to aim at. Mitrovic, of course, as well. De Cordova-Reid, edge of the 6-yard box, and Polini is also there. Kearney's trotted across to the opposite side, left-footed, out-swinging delivery this time, high towards the penalty spot, flick clear. Now O'Brien has steered it forward cleverly. Surridge gets beyond Ream, platted into by Ream. That has to be a free kick. Referee said no. Nottingham Forest have it back anyway, so the crowd won't be upset for too long, but Surridge was cleaned out.
I'm not sure.
No,
I think he jumped into him.
Great feet by Gibbs-White, though, away from Tete, and he looked to knock it inside left channel beyond Tete to look for Surridge, swept away by Diop, and then Fulham get a free kick in their right back position, and well, you can hear what the home fans think of that.
Well, especially this side, the stand we're in, we can all see that it came last off Dan James, and you need those. You just need every single little thing to go your way. On the screens just in front of us, we see that collision, and I think I'm right. I think he has just jumped into it.
With the fury of the crowd raining down upon Jared Gillett, the referee. 5 minutes left in a thrilling encounter to start the Premier League weekend. It's Nottingham Forest 2, Fulham 3, if you're just joining us late on TalkSport 2. Aston Villa leads Southampton still by a single goal to nil. That Jacob Ramsey goal late in the first half. Steven Gerrard's side will still have to see that out live on TalkSport right now. Remember, you can download the TalkSport app. That'll be useful this weekend to sweat between the games at your leisure. High ball forward for Fulham. Worrell with a cushioned header into the gloves of the goalkeeper. Quickly bowled out by Henderson. Out to Nico Williams on the right, the far side. He steers it backwards. Groans from the home fans. Now Worrell, wearing number 4, he's going to hammer in a raking ball up the touchline. Cleared away by Tim Ream. Are Forest going to create one last chance? Maybe that's all they'll need. They have got a throw. Again on the right, and this time it's midway inside the Fulham half. Williams looking for options, finds Yates, back to Williams, he quickly scampers in field, touch was slightly heavy, goes back to Worrell on halfway. Worrell flicks it long, and now it's steered forward by Surridge, out to the right hand side. Johnson's cross turned up into the air by Harrison Reed, and then a good call by Leno for Tosin to leave it, and the goalkeeper able to pounce on the loose ball.
Yeah, they've just given a little bit of sharpness. Surridge and Lingard and the link up there, and Brennan Johnson again cutting it back towards the penalty spot. Brilliant from Harrison Reed just to see the danger.
And Fulham with that single goal advantage. Mitrovic not happy with McKenna, and Mitrovic walks away. McKenna walked away first, holding his back, one arm behind it. The referee's given Nottingham Forest a free kick, and Mitrovic has been in a mood at times tonight, as you spoke about earlier, Dean.
Yeah, and I understand this from McKenna, why he's annoyed, because Mitrovic just leans into him. We see with forwards, they just kind of bend forwards and let the defender kind of ride over the top of them. Quite dangerous.
Pumped long by Lodi, headed away up to the edge of the box. Johnson can't stretch enough to reach it. It's come to O'Brien, midway inside the Fulham half, very congested, but he finds Williams. Williams on the right hand side, digs out a high cross, it's sliced behind.
You just can't waste these opportunities. There's twice now Nico Williams has wasted that opportunity on the right hand side. He took the shot earlier, that was a chance to cross, and blazes over. You just got to keep things alive in there.
Well, Nottingham Forest are definitely going for it. They've got their £20 million man on, Emmanuel Dennis, formerly of Watford, of course, 10 goals in the Premier League last season, yet to get off the mark for his new club. He's only got 2 minutes plus stoppage time to help them make it 3-3. Steve Cooper, big deep breath, his arms folded. Marco Silva likewise, actually, about 15 feet to the right. Goal kick clattered long by Bernd Leno. So Dennis on for Nico Williams, and plenty of forward options on the pitch for Nottingham Forest. There's a Forest player down. It's Worrell, and it's a head injury, so the referee has had to stop the game, and the two physios will come onto the field. And Fulham are going to bring on Carlos Vinicius, the former Tottenham player, very shortly. So too Neeskens Cabano. What a breathless second half in particular we've witnessed, Dean Ashton. I have to say, at half-time, we probably didn't think it would open up quite like it has.
No, I mean, Fulham were so good in that period, as bad as Nottingham Forest were, and Fulham should have seen this out. They shouldn't have allowed it to get into this position, but it just shows if you concede, it just lifts everyone, and it still feels a bit chaotic, to be honest, Nottingham Forest. The changes even, it's just like, boom, bring every forward player on and hope it works, and it still might.
Does he know his best team, Steve Cooper, and how damaging is it if he doesn't?
I think he's got no idea. I think this 2 weeks will still do him the world of good to watch this back and ponder.
Well, no Premier League goal in his birthday for Alexander Mitrovic, whose number is up. 49 league goals in his last 50 league appearances now. And Carlos Vinicius will come on. Likewise, Neeskens Cabano for Bobby De Cordova-Reid. Neeskens Cabano, who scored in this fixture last season. A rather more comfortable 4-0 win for Fulham that day. As far as Vinicius is concerned, it's just his second Fulham appearance. Both have come off the bench. 6 added minutes here at the City Ground.
Of course, brilliant.
We wouldn't have it any other way. It's Friday night.
Turn it upside down, make it 9.
It's all about entertainment, isn't it? More.
No, it's been brilliant.
It certainly has. Loved every minute of it here on TalkSport 2. Nottingham Forest 2, Fulham 3. Is there to be a final twist in this match? Fulham hope not. Dan James collects, attacking the edge of the penalty area, plays it left to Cabano. Cabano's first touch, twisting, turning onto his right foot, curling, takes a deflection on the shot, through it goes, spits up into the air and comes through to Henderson. Overarm throw up to Lodi, left back position, had to steer back in field and play it back to the goalkeeper under pressure from Carlos Vinicius, cleared by Yates. High long ball downfield, headed away by Tim Reed, brought down by Gibbs White. Gibbs White scoops it long this time. Surridge making use of himself. Dennis has not kept it in on the far side, and will trust the assistant's judgment because it's about as far away from our commentary position as it can be. Offside.
Yeah, it was offside from the flick from Surridge. Again, I know it's a small detail, but every little offside, every little cross over the crossbar, it just takes that momentum away.
When he repairs for Joe Worrell, he's been bleeding from the nose, so he's got some tissues in there. Fulham lead 3-2, a minute and 40 seconds into the 6 added on TalkSport 2. You can have your say on the Sports Bar weekend. They're over on TalkSport tonight, 03717 22 3344. We've got live golf from the PGA Tour to come on TalkSport 2. Alternatively, here is Dennis, back to goal, twisting down the far side, the right, away from Cabano, not past the tall frame of João Palhinha though, and it's Kearney to scoop it high, down the middle for Fulham, headed away by McKenna. Clever cushion header because it opened up space for Lodi. Now Jesse Lingard, wearing number 11. Infield it goes to O'Brien, who scored one of the 2 Forest goals tonight, but it might not be enough for a point. 2.5 minutes of the 6 have been played. 6 added at the end of the game. Here come Nottingham Forest. City Ground a little quiet. Everybody though bar Henderson, the goalkeeper, inside the Fulham half. Fulham have put a tackle in. Cabano's done well. Kearney up to the halfway line. Square ball to Reed. Kearney and Reed both caught late. Play continues. Fulham have possession. 3 against 2. James, edge of the penalty area. Into the box now. Left-footed curler. Really wasteful. Really wasteful. He had 2 players square and he elected to go for goal.
Well, he's bearing down on McKenna, 1v1, and instead of speeding up, he slows down and then looks as if like, all right, I don't know what to do now. So he just cut onto his left foot and hit a horrible shot.
And Forest can't get any momentum here. They've given the ball away straight away, halfway through the 6 added, and Fulham are just playing some keep ball inside the Nottingham Forest half, trying to do all they can to slow the game down. 1 or 2 Forest fans are heading for the exits. Fulham 3-2 up. Dan James, 25 yards out, forward towards Vinicius, holds it up well in front of Worrell. Plays it back to Polina. Polina pings a cross-field ball out to Cabana, who controls so deftly and so instinctively. Back out wide to Ream. Very good keep ball this from Fulham. Certainly they've taken the sting out of the game, and the frustration's growing among the Nottingham Forest fans. Ream skipping towards the corner flag, closest to where the away supporters are located, couple of thousand or so. And they're about to celebrate Fulham's first away league win of the season, and a big cheer as Ream knocks the ball out of play. And what's the referee done here? Is he given a corner? I think he has, and Fulham will take their time with this, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, brilliant from Ream. Just took it into the corner, and actually Dennis needed some help over there, and it's just fallen flat, hasn't it? Almost since the goal they had that second opportunity down the right hand side, and it's just gone flat.
Here is Vinicius, back to goal, left on edge of the penalty area, holding the ball up cleverly, deep into the 6 added at the end of the game, into stoppage time at Villa Park as well. Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0. Fulham still have the ball where they want it, inside Forest territory. Polina goes down, no free kick given, Forest clear long, up towards Surridge. Ream is there to win the loose ball after Surridge had won the initial flick on. Diop facing his own goal, turns and spins, safety first, drives the ball high up into the night sky and away from danger. The ball is back now with the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper Henderson. A minute to go. Forest trailing, losing 3-2 at home again against a fellow club promoted from the Championship last season. It's a worrying sequence of results this for Steve Cooper's side. Here they go though with Dennis. Looked like handball. Edge of the penalty area it was. Referee gives the free kick. 30 seconds left, Dean Ashton. That might be that.
Yeah, again, just there, flicked over the top. Dennis Wright, control, one last attack, handballs it, and just again takes the sting out. Uprise many of the Nottingham Forest fans and start heading for the exit. And despite the rally, there's going to be questions asked for Steve Cooper in the manner that they started this game, and especially in the first half, how negative they were.
We're seeing red seats appear all around the ground for the first time since the warm-ups, really. We've had the 6 minutes of stoppage time, and the full-time whistle blows. It's a big win for Fulham, but Nottingham Forest have thrown away a lead at the City Ground again. They lose for the 4th time in a row in the Premier League and remain in the relegation zone. But for Fulham, the heady heights of 6th in the top flight table going into the weekend. They may not be a yo-yo club anymore under Marco Silva. Mark my words, their first Premier League win away from home, Fulham, since March of 2021. It has been a super start for them. It has been a really rough start for Nottingham Forest. A place off the bottom of the table, 5 defeats from 7 games, and questions for Steve Cooper to answer. It started so well for them in front of the break, courtesy of Taiwo Awoni's goal. They were never fully convincing though, and Fulham shocked the City Ground with 3 quick-fire goals just before the hour mark. Tossin with a thunderous header, Polina with a stunner into the top corner, and Harrison Reed, his first Fulham goal, ultimately enough to win the game. Lewis O'Brien off the bench pulled one back late on, but Forest couldn't find an equaliser, and it's the Fulham fans who celebrate Trent's side. It has finished on TalkSport 2. Very entertaining Friday night football. Nottingham Forest 2, Fulham 3.